Welcome to Manifesting Your Destiny TV. I am the Reverend Keith Russell Lee. I am so glad you have decided to join me on this day. These lessons that I've been sharing on having the faith of God, I'm telling you, has been powerful. They have been life-changing, and I want you to be able to go back. These are all on YouTube as well as on the website. To go back, look at the previous ones. Come on up to speed. And also I want you to be able to do this. I want you to go to our website, Destiny, SEC.org, SEC as in Spiritual Empowerment Center.org, and go there and pick up the audio download for our seminar. The audio download for our seminar, which is over an hour of information that I was teaching on as an audio download that is going to make a tremendous difference in your life. Also with that, get the study guide as well. The study guide and workbook actually has exercises and other scriptural resources for you to go so that you can come along on this journey, but more so than just start talking about faith in some intellectual way, but really begin to walk in the faith of God. You know, listen, my friends, I know I've been in ministry now for, I guess since 1982. Wow, that's a long time. And one of the things about ministry that I found out, I guess that's over 30 years. And one of the things that I found out that a lot of times we can become so intellectualizing these concepts and these notions, and we never walk in them. And what I'm sharing, folks, is for us to embrace the truth, not in some intellectual way, but really embracing it in our heart, and our mind, and our spirit, that we can be able to walk in it. And I share this as well, folks. You know, of course, my teaching, I make no apologies about my teachings, and it is a revelation of God. It's as a result of His experience with me, and I make no apologies in regards to that if it, upsets somebody's apple cart. I know this is my truth. But I want to encourage you to at least look at it with an open mind and heart. And to also to be able to do as the scriptures tell you to do, to study, to show thyself approved, that a workman needeth not to be ashamed, but correctly handles the word of truth. So I want you to be able to do that. But I'm really excited about these lessons. Thank you for the email. Thank you for the calls that you've been giving. And talk about how this has really been changing your life, man. And I want to encourage you, as you subscribe on the YouTube channel, subscribe, go ahead and put your comments down. Let's start a dialogue. Let's start a dialogue. I'm not that great on YouTube as far as, putting comments down. I'm developing staff to be able to assist me with that, but I'm telling you, the next few days, I will be doing that, and we can be able to have truly a dialogue, and we can be able to grow together, okay? I left off yesterday talking about what kind of faith God has. And I touched on the importance of faith being a completed act. Faith being a completed act. And in Mark 11 that we've gone to, I was at Mark 11 when I left off, and I was telling a story about how I had to walk in faith as a completed act and how we're able to do that. I want to share that in a minute. But I want to go back over Mark 11 now, and I want you to become very present right now to the idea of what kind of faith God has, and to know that when God spoke, it was done. To know that when we are talking about walking in the faith and walking in the power of God, that it is a done deal. And that it's immediate. We're still looking for signs. So if God says you are healed, I'm not going to keep on saying I've got the congas of the body. I still have whatever I'm diagnosed with. I'm still going to talk about the disease, still talk about what the doctor said. I'm going to operate in a consciousness and in a faith that I am healed. I am whole and I am complete. And I'm stop going to name that disease. I'm stop going to name what others are saying. I'm going to put on, ladies, put on some makeup. Dress yourselves up. Get out of those old scrubs and those hospital gowns. And even in the hospital, why do you got to wear a hospital gown? I mean, say, okay, I don't care what you say. Then when you're ready to do your procedure, then that's fine. But I am healed, I'm whole, and I'm complete now. And I'm walking in that in my consciousness. Is this making sense to anybody? I know that it is, and I know that's speaking to someone right now as well. Faith is a completed act. Mark 11. He says, verse 22, so Jesus answered and said to them, have faith in God. Verse 23, for surely I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, be removed and be cast into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that those things he says will be done, he will have whatever he says. He will have whatever he says. Verse 24. Therefore I say to you, this is the thesis again, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you will have them. When do I believe I receive them? Some glad morning when it's all over? When do I believe that I actually have it? Well, it's on the way, that my God is sending it. No. When do you have it? You have it at the time you ask. He says, when you ask, when you pray, believe that you have received them. So, Lord, as I've asked, and you said, ask and we shall, ask, seek, and knock, right? And I've asked you, Lord, and therefore I now lay claim to it. I now lay my claim to it as if I already had it. Now, somebody says, well, Keith, no, that's not real. Well, it is real. But it has to be real in your mind and in your faith and in your consciousness. As a man believeth in his heart, so is he. So whatever you believe, that's Proverbs 23:7. So whatever you believe is going to be done as unto you. So if I don't believe that I have it immediately, that I got to wait for it to come, then guess what's going to happen? It's going to delay. It's going to tarry. But when I operate in the faith of God, I know that I have it right now. I have it right now. I have it right now. Now, I'll talk to you about the story about my home that I used to have in 833 Mansfield Court in Schaumburg, Illinois. 3-bedroom townhouse. I'm telling you, it had a little family room off the kitchen and a little backyard. Man, I'm telling you, I thought I was in high cotton. Schaumburg, Illinois, northwest suburbs of Chicago, in my very own property that I bought. I went to the bank previously, and the bank turned me down. The bank says, we don't have, I did not have everything in line that I needed to be able to get it. But I knew in my heart, mind, and spirit, that place was for me. So the lady that was there, Mrs. McKay, she was the bank officer, the loan officer. Had been there many years. I had known her for all of my life, basically, because as long as I could remember, my mom and dad, we would go into the bank, and Mrs. McKay started out as a teller. We would see her. Mrs. Madgett and others, would be there. And Mrs. McKay told me to begin to visualize seeing me in that home. Wow. And I get teary even when I think about it. I get teary when I think about it. I walked out of the bank discouraged. But yet I had enough, thank you God, faith to know that this is not over. And if the bank officer is telling me, begin to visualize, baby. Begin to visualize these things. I held on to that. I'm telling you, I would see myself going up and down the stairs. I would see myself in my family room, chilling, watching my television. I saw myself, eating at the breakfast table in my little dining room area. I saw myself sleeping in my king-size bed, and as the sun would break through, I saw myself living in that space and place. But not just living in that place, seeing myself, I also with the feelings. I looked at the feelings of when I would have family and friends over, and man, the feel of what that would be. Man, I would visualize, and I would use my imagination, the faculty of imagination that God has given us, to be able to smell. Man, how is this going to smell when I, make at that time, the stuff that I was eating, like fried chicken wings, I used to make the best fried wings ever. I don't eat that stuff now anymore because I want to be healthy, but man, I would visualize that, inviting friends and family over. I remember, one of the proudest moments that I had saw in my mind was my family coming over to celebrating this residence that I had at 833 Mansfield Court. Man, I'm telling you. And I say all of that because I lived in that. Now, inside of 3 weeks, I'm telling you, I visualized it, mind, body, and spirit, in the mornings, in the afternoons, and evenings, whenever I was feeling dejected, whenever I was feeling low, because I just knew God had this place for me. I did all of the stuff that I was told to do, the superstitious stuff. I'm walking around the block. I'm speaking to it. I'm doing all of those things. But more so, in terms of spiritual laws, I began to see myself with feeling and emotion that it was mine. I then went to the closing, and I saw in my mind's eye the closing, and my lawyer, who's one of my dearest friends growing up, Sheila Ellison, who put the paperwork and all these things together. I saw Sheila and I signing document after document in this room, and I'm telling you, it played out just as I had envisioned. One of the proudest moments that I had was did I tell you that I needed $15,000 for the closing too? No, I didn't tell you that part, right? I needed $15,000 for the closing. Well, if I couldn't get a mortgage, where am I going to get $15,000 from? By the way, I was only making $8 an hour at the Markham Police Department. I had resigned from my church in Virginia, moved to Schaumburg, Illinois, because I was going to organize and start this church that God gave me a vision of in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. And now I'm just simply following the Spirit and leading. But now I needed $15,000. Now, how was I going to be able to do this? This is how God works. Because there's a thing about speaking it. And so shall my word go forth, it shall not come back to me void, but it shall go back to the place for which I have sent it. Now, my godmother, Lily Ruth Thomas, I'm telling you, wonderful woman of God. I would go and I would do errands for her. I would cut the grass. When I moved back to Chicago, I would go all to the senior citizens' homes. I would cut their lawns. I would run their errands for them. That was my ministry. I would bring them communion. I would pray with them on a regular basis, daily basis. After I leave the police department, I would then go directly and to do these errands and do these things, still doing ministry. This was back in 1995, dating myself a little bit. And my godmother, when I was getting close to this closing, says, "Baby, you're not talking about your church that much." Because in my mind's eye, I was going to be pastoring a church in the northwest suburbs. In my mind's eye, I had a house. And says, "Baby, you're not talking about your house and your church that much anymore. Come on, sit down and talk to me about, and tell me about that church again. Tell me about that 3-bedroom townhouse," because I would speak to her. This is how God works. She says, "Before you go to your closing, I want to give you a gift. I want to pay your closing costs." She says, "How much is it?" I says, "It's $15,000. She says, "Fine. We're going to go by and see Mrs. McKay, and we're going to get that for you for your closing." And that's going to be my gift for you, baby. Whew. I'm telling you, it works if you work it. Whenever I have needed something from God in faith, if I can visualize it, if I can feel it with feeling and emotion, I lay claim to it as if I already have. I stopped talking about, well, it's going to come. My friends think I'm crazy. I was telling my good friend Jeff, well, he knows that Jeff Taylor, one of my college roommates and buddies growing up, he just knows that now I'm just a man of faith. I started talking about stuff as it is now. And he's like, Keith, that's a lie. I said, no, I'm just faith in it, man. I'm just talking in faith. I believe I have X, Y, and Z. I've got it now. That's what the Word of God says. It is mine, and I lay claim to that right now. And that becomes my reality. See, when you believe that you receive it, it has to be in faith now. You may say it's not materialized. Well, in my faith, it's materialized because the only reality that there is God's reality. The only reality that there is God's reality. And so in my faith, because I don't live in this realm, this physical material realm, I live in a spiritual realm. And in my spiritual realm, I'm engaging it right now. Folks, I've got media lights all around me. I've got backdrops all around me. I've got technology literally all around me. A few months ago, I didn't have any of this stuff. When I was doing other stuff, I had an iPad. And I was doing stuff from an iPad. Oh, this is the Reverend Keith Russell Lee, with the iPad. But I would not see an iPad. I saw HD cameras. I saw studio lighting. I saw backdrops. I see technology in the next few weeks, man. You're going to be, with all of the other graphics and all those things. You're going to be like, wow, because I see that already in my mind's eye. I operate in it. Destiny Center for Spiritual Empowerment. The service coming up, man, and in September, already excited about those things, and the number of people that will come. And people are saying, it's real to me. I feel it. And I'm engaging it now. See, folks, you've got to live in your faith. And I've got actually 3 of my dearest friends and best friends are psychiatrists. Literally, I've got 3. And I says God has a sense of humor. Ballinder in Chicago, who's an awesome writer and an awesome speaker. Dr. Ballinder, Dr. Nasir Gaimi, who was my roommate in college when I was in college, and he's like a brother to me. Nasir, who's a New York Times best-selling writer, and then also Dr. Colleen Hawthorne, who's also a writer, and so forth. These are some of my best friends and dearest friends, and they share with me, that's real. When you're living out of your faith reality. You're living out that faith reality, and they know that about me. I'm living in my faith reality. I'm living in a spiritual realm and zone. And we talk about imagination, and you think about this, folks, that's the point that I was going to make. Growing up, we were taught to suppress imagination. Well, if you don't have imagination, how can you be able to have something in terms of faith? Matter of fact, let's go to Genesis 13, and I want you to see something here. Genesis 13. One of the spiritual faculties, of course, that we know, or I call it the spiritual inner dynamics of what I talk about in the destiny system, is God has given us imagination. And imagination is our ability to think outside of ourselves and beyond the physical. And really our imagination helps us to tap into the spiritual realm and to see things as God sees them. And it's amazing because we were taught growing up, you can't use your imagination, stop, thinking creatively, using your imagination and all of those things. When your imagination is a spiritual dynamic that's in you, that is to be used in conjunction with your faith. Because what the mind can conceive through imagination and the heart can believe through faith can be achieved, as Dr. Napoleon Hill shared, right? What the mind can conceive, the heart can believe, can be achieved. And again, as I put my addendum to it, what the mind can conceive through imagination, what the heart can believe through faith, can be achieved. Wow. I want you to see here in Scripture, Genesis 13. And this is God speaking to Abraham. And I want you to see here the power of imagination. One of the greatest gifts I realize that I have been given is the ability to imagine, to see. Look here in Genesis 13. Verse 14. And the Lord said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him, lift up your eyes now and look from the place where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward. Let me share this with you, folks. First of all, he says, lift up your eyes. That means raise your level of consciousness looking unto the Father who is all. Looking unto the Father who is all. Looking to the Father who is all. As I lift and I raise my consciousness from where I am. See, folks, don't let anybody insult you about where you are right now. Don't let anybody despise the time that you're in of small beginnings, or the season of small beginnings in your life. Don't let anybody insult you or say disparaging things about, just because you might have faltered or you might have made some bad decisions and you find yourself in a place. But wherever you are right now, lift up your eyes. I love that song. This is lift up your eyes into the hills from whence cometh your help. And so you lift up and you raise your level of consciousness where you are. Listen, folks, I don't care if you're in the pit. I don't care if you are in the ghettos in the south side of Chicago, or if you're in Ballston area, or Crystal City of Arlington, Virginia, or in Northwest Washington, D.C. Lift up your eyes from where you are now, in whatever your situation, whatever your condition is. As you raise that, you can use your imagination to go anywhere you want to go. Folks, some of the deepest and the darkest times that I've had in my life, I want you to know one thing. I would lay in my bed in Fort Worth, Texas, off of Hewlin Road. I lived off of Hewlin Road, right down from the mall, right off of I-20. Nice place. But I would be in bed sometimes depressed because I felt like I had lost something. I lost, in my marriage. I lost my home. I walked away from things that were important to me. Folks, you have not lost anything. You have not lost anything, because there's no loss in God's economy. There's no loss in God's economy. But wherever you are, lift up your eyes from where you are now. I'm here to tell you, I'm a testimony of it. Whatever you thought that you lost, God will bring something better, if equal, if not even better. I don't care if it's a relationship. I don't care if it's a job. I don't care if it's a business. There is no loss in God's economy. I would lay in my bed, and I just knew there would be better days. I would just sometimes be rocking and just praying, and rocking and praying. Sometimes I just roll myself up in a ball and rocking and praying. One time I had a friend call me. Reverend Sherry called me, and I was just in a mode. I'm telling you. And she's saying, well, Keith, just be right where you are. Just simply, embrace where you are now. I didn't want to hear that because I'm seeing in my imagination. Now, I understand what she was ministering to me, what she was telling me. I got rude. I hung up the phone and all those kind of things. But the reality of what I'm sharing with that is I saw the Destiny Studios. I'm sorry. I saw, a home that was even twice as big as the one that I felt I lost. I saw a people that was hungry for the teachings. I saw me being in a relationship with an incredible woman who understood and got me. I know what God is able to do, but you've got to look beyond where you are now. Don't lose hope, but transform that in your faith and see that and feel that in your mind's eye. Experience that. So I would walk in my home. I was sitting in my studio doing my things. Even though I maybe had just an iPad or some other technology at the time. But I knew because I saw it and I lived it. Lift up your eyes from where you are now. Use your imagination now. Don't let anybody tell you just imagining all those other things. I've got to hasten. I make no apology about being emotional, particularly about the things that God has brought me through. I make no apology in giving God all honor and praise. And that's why I'm telling you, what's the destiny difference? The destiny difference is I'm not trying to be, I am the man of God. I'm perfect in all the ways. I'm never this and I'm never that. Because they're lying. That's all bovine feces anyway. They're all lying. They're lying. We've all had our challenges. We all have had our struggles. But our challenges and struggles are become those things that we empower people that they can live powerful lives. You don't have to make the same mistakes that I've made. And if I'm transparent, if I'm honest about it, and I share that with you, and you hear me share these principles, not as just something that I'm reading from a book, and I'm just being intellectually savvy, and I'm just wanting you to share something, I'm sharing this because it will make the difference in your life. That's why I'm sharing it. Glory to God. Lift up your eyes now. Use your imagination. Use your imagination. And I thank you for those early partners that were with me, who would be on conference calls with me in Little Rock, Arkansas, in other parts of it, in Chicago, parts of the country. Thank God for, Prophetess Foster and her mother, who supported sending contributions. I believe in your ministry. I believe in your ministry, sowing into my ministry. When I didn't, before I could afford clothes, sewing. And my birthday comes, I get boxes of suits. Hopefully it's the right size. Thank you for those that believed. Folks, this is what I'm talking about in terms of your imagination and your faith. And God will send people in your pathway. God will, if there's a vision, there's always provision, and God will make a way for you. He will make a way for you. My time is up right now as I'm looking at the clock. I'm going to touch upon this tomorrow. But until then, live with faith and power. Continue to create that phenomenal life. I am the Reverend Keith Lee. And remember, the only problem that you'll ever have, it's a faith problem. Until tomorrow.